Hello and welcome to The Insider, a show designed to clue you into the biggest news, events and announcements inside the video games industry, discussing with you some things you may know, some things you may not, and glue holds it all together is a little bit of my own opinion. My name is Paul James, thank you very much for watching, and let's kick off the episode.
There's a fighter in you after all.
So The Insider is a show typically dedicated to a game, or a publisher, or a big event in the games industry. And there's one that's kind of happened this week that we wouldn't normally bundle into this sort of show. I'm talking about the Escapist and the return of that website. It's been wallowing away for quite some time. Similar to what happened to Game Trailers before it eventually died, the team left, formed easy allies, and have become really successful since. But those responsible for the Escapist didn't enjoy that same luxury, and it's taken a long time to find their way out of the evil clutches of Defy Media, who ran them into the ground. But they are back. There was a big announcement this week that the website is returning. Our former head of the company, Russ Pitts, is running the show again as editor-in-chief. And they've got a new mission, they've got a new goal, they've got new ambitions. And we're going to talk about what those are and what they will mean for this gaming business next.
One day, I'm going to save your ass, and you're probably going to want to kiss me.
So we need to talk about a few things that Russ Pitts said in his first release following the re-reveal, I guess, of The Escapist. Russ had a few things to say that have ruffled a few feathers in this gaming industry, both in the media and the public spheres, and I'm going to talk about those a little bit, but I need to quote a few of those points first. The first thing that Russ said is that his former publisher, so the Escapist former publisher, allowed the website to become a home for political extremists. But under new management, the new execs will ensure that the Escapist will be leaving politics at the door. Now, these 2 points are really important. Politics is a big thing in this gaming industry. You only have to log on to Twitter for a few minutes and just check through the tweets of your main industry personalities that you follow, and it won't be long before you find some sort of commentary about a whole range of big hitting topics that they're bigger than just this game's business, but how they affect the gaming industry, those in it. And it can be a very interesting place for people to exist in, depending on their thoughts on politics, whether they're into it at all or not, and whether they lean left or right or anywhere in the middle. It's a really interesting place, and these comments from Russ Pitts have really raised some eyebrows and asked a lot of questions of us, the consumers of games media, and of those who are responsible for creating content in this gaming business. We're going to talk about all those comments and what they all mean next. I was most interested by Russ's comments that we were going to leave gaming politics at the door, because politics is in so many aspects of this gaming business. There's obviously the things about equal rights for men and women and based on race and all those sorts of things that we see across the world but also affect the gaming business. There's some shocking stories of horrible things that have happened in this gaming industry. There's politics that we see in our games. BioShock, the franchise, is a great example of this. It sends some really powerful messages that we may not all necessarily agree with, but it's so well told that we actually are able to explore and understand and think back on what they've said and take some meaning from it. There's some powerful storytelling that goes on there. The thing about Russ's comments that we're leaving politics at the door that I can't agree with is the fact that politics is everywhere. You can't avoid it. And he kind of half acknowledged that anyway, that it kind of perforates everything and there's going to be aspects of things everywhere. One of the great things that he did say is that we're not going to try and force you to believe one person's opinion. We're not here to tell you that we believe this and this is why you should too. And I do applaud that. I think that's great. But I also think that this gaming industry is missing something. I personally lean a bit left. And I would say a large portion of this gaming industry does. And that's okay. But what I am finding as someone who leans left is that there is so many voices around me that are all saying the same thing. So we're not getting a depth of opinion. We're not getting a conversation. We're not getting a dialogue. What I'm looking for out of my games industry, of those who I follow, and like I'm part of this as well, but of those that I follow, I'm looking for people that lean a little bit right or have, or is kind of somewhere in the middle or have different opinions altogether. I want to hear those opinions. I want to engage in a conversation with you. I want to understand why it is you believe what you believe. I want you to understand why it is that I believe what I believe, and that we can find a middle ground, because we're kidding ourselves in politics, like the big name politics, or within the politics of our games industry. We're kidding ourselves if we think that one side is right, wholly, and the other is wholly wrong. There are bits and pieces of the left and the right and the middle that we should all be taking on board and picking and choosing what is best from those different perspectives to form our own. And at the moment, I'm hearing the same opinion over and over. And whilst by and large, I agree with that, I would love for someone to come along and say a few things that maybe rustle a few feathers in here, not send the hackles up, but rustle a few feathers and make me reconsider some of my opinions. Maybe take on board bits and pieces of what they're saying and make that a part of my opinion, or at least be able to understand the other perspective here. Because at the moment we are very one-dimensional. And it's what's causing these comments from so many people that get politics out of my games. Because firstly, they may not agree, but maybe they do, but they're so over hearing the same message over and over and over again that they don't want to hear it anymore. And I can understand that. We're going to talk more about where all this is heading next.
I have witnessed the tremendous energy of the masses. On this foundation, it is possible to accomplish any task whatsoever.
The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams.
Russ Pitts' comments about leaving politics at the door was a really mixed message, because on one hand he said that politics are going to be there in a way, shape or form, despite the fact that he said we're leaving it at the door. They can't completely remove it or isolate it from what they're doing. And that's fair, because politics is a part of everything we do, big or small, significant or insignificant. It's always there in one way, shape or form. And we don't want to stifle that. We want to nurture it. We want to engage with it. We want to foster it. We want to look at multiple perspectives. We want to enhance our opinions. We can't afford to be one-dimensional. I'm making it my goal, off the back of what we've seen this week, to go and explore what the new Escapists are doing. I'm going to go out and explore new content and get new perspectives. It may not change the ones that I have, but it gives me a greater understanding of what's going on the other side. Because at the moment, and it happens on both sides of the spectrum here, it is a shouting contest at one another, and no one is hearing what the other has to say. And it means that no progress is made. If there's one thing that I want you to take from this episode, it's this simple message. Go out and see what the other side is saying. Don't comment. Don't get baited. Go out and see what the other side is saying. Explore their opinion. Try and understand why they believe what they believe. And help that influence your own opinion. Look for things that could help enhance what you believe. Or look for things that might be contrary to what you believe, and reflect on that a bit. Take some meaning from that. Try and understand why it is that person believes what they believe. because it doesn't make the other side a bad person just because they disagree with you. They just have different priorities. This is the most political topic I've ever done on The Insider, and I'd rather not do it for a while. Let's get back to talking about games.
I will bring diversity, culture, and the wonders of the world to Tropico, so that all other nations will look upon us with envy. Vote for El Presidente. Vote for Tropico 6 or else.
So that concludes another episode of The Insider. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider liking, sharing and subscribing. All those buttons are down below here, and hit that notification bell. That way you're alerted to every new video as it goes live on our channel. That includes Patched, the Video Games Club, The Insider, Player 2 Plays, the Late Game Review, my new show, Gamer School, which, if you're watching this on Friday or Saturday, debuts this coming Sunday. It's a reflection on the Secret of Mana franchise. It is broken into little chunks, looking at the history, the literature, the mechanics of that franchise, and how it's come to be so prominent over many, many years. I think it's a great series. I would love for your support, and please consider checking it out. We've got the website, player2.net.au. There's awesome written content there. News, previews, opinion pieces, news, features, the Player 2 Rise draft, and a whole lot more. There's some awesome content contributed by some of the best talent in Australia, so please make sure to go and check out their work. We're also on Patreon, patreon.com/player2au, and consider kicking in a few dollars. At the lower tiers, you'll get early access to episodes such as this, such as Patched, such as the Late Game Review, such as Gamer School. At the higher tiers, you get monthly exclusives, and at the top tier, you'll join us in the monthly Player 2 podcast. We'd love to hear what you have to say. Consider throwing in a few dollars, either at any level there. We would love for your support. You're helping the Player 2 dream to grow. For rolling updates, you can find me at PaulJamesP2 on Twitter. The website, you can find at Player2AU on Twitter. Until next time, we've dealt with a really heavy topic today. Let's get back to talking about some games. I'll see you next week.